Senate Republicans, as we mentioned earlier, have chosen a new leader when they take the majority in the next Congress. During a secret ballot vote yesterday, the GOP picked Senator John Thune of South Dakota. Thune ran on a platform of carrying out President-elect Trump's agenda, even though the two men have not always seen eye to eye. Thune rejected Trump's false claims that the 2020 election was stolen. Trump did congratulate Thune on his election after yesterday's vote. Thune ran against two other senators, John Cornyn of Texas and Rick Scott of Florida. Thune will replace longtime leader Mitch McConnell, who's stepping down after a record 18 years. The South Dakota Republican spoke to reporters after the vote yesterday.
It's a new day in the United States Senate, and it's a new day in America. The American people have loudly rejected the failed policies of the Biden, Harris, Schumer agenda. And this Republican team is united. We are on one team. We are excited to reclaim the majority and to get to work with our colleagues in the House to enact President Trump's agenda.
Meanwhile, over in the House, Speaker Mike Johnson was selected by fellow Republicans to be the GOP nominee for Speaker in January. They chose Johnson by a unanimous vote with no objections, meaning that no secret ballot was needed. That's according to a source in the room. Johnson will now need 218 votes on the House floor in January to officially secure the speakership again. Additionally, House Republicans re-elected Majority Leader Steve Scalise and Majority Whip Tom Emmer to their current positions. Joining us now, senior congressional reporter for Punchbowl News, Andrew Desiderio. Andrew, so good to see you this morning. Let's talk about the Senate leadership selection. There had been some MAGA momentum for Rick Scott, but Thune wins. Talk to us about what does that say about the potential independence or not of the upper chamber, and tell us a little bit about just who John Thune is.
Yeah, look, John Thune has been in the Senate for 20 years. He first came into the Senate from the House. He defeated Tom Daschle, who was then, of course, the Senate Majority Leader. So he came in quite triumphantly, and he has been, someone who has been a traditional, more classic Republican over the years, someone who's fiscally conservative. He's a national security hawk, not someone you would think of as a typical sort of Trump-aligned Republican, but John Thune has had to adapt, just like so many other Republicans have had to in this era of Donald Trump. And you heard him there talk about how, we Republicans are all on one team united behind Trump's agenda. The problematic thing for him is that, as we saw yesterday, Donald Trump has a tendency very often, quite often, to undercut Republicans on Capitol Hill. You saw that yesterday, for example, when just a couple hours after John Thune was speaking in that clip you just played, we got the nominations of Matt Gaetz for Attorney General and Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence. And, this is an early test for Senator Thune of how he's going to handle Donald Trump, not just on the things he says, but actually what he puts forward to the Senate and really dumps onto John Thune's plate, because Thune is going to be responsible for whipping the votes for all of these nominees to cabinet and sub-cabinet positions, and whipping votes to actually get legislation over the finish line on Trump's behalf.
So, Andrew, you're so plugged in there in the Senate. What are the chances that Matt Gaetz, actually has support to be confirmed?
I mean, slim to none, really. I mean, I don't see a universe in which Matt Gaetz gets confirmed. Republicans I'm talking to don't even think he's going to get to the point of having a confirmation hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee. That's how down on this nomination they are. We're even seeing right now, I'm told, Republican senators trying to convince Trump and those in his inner circle to actually reverse course on this nomination. So, again, it's just a reflection of the fact that they really see no path for Matt Gaetz. He is, you can't overstate enough how sort of reviled he is on Capitol Hill, not just among House Republicans, but among Senate Republicans as well.
And, Andrew, in a 30-second answer, the idea of recess appointments, do we think that's something that could go through?
Look, it's always a possibility. Senator Thune, right before the leadership election, had expressed an openness toward it when Donald Trump threw this idea out there. I think he was more just trying to not anger Donald Trump right before the leadership election. I can't really see a universe in which this will be necessary, because honestly, I really don't see Matt Gaetz' nomination getting to the point where it's viable in the Senate. And look, it would take an extraordinary measure by Donald Trump, forcing the Senate and the House both into recess, which he has the power to do as president. But again, I don't really see a situation, a scenario in which this would be needed at this point. But you can't completely rule it out.
Terrific reporting this morning from one of the best in the business, senior congressional reporter for Punchbowl News, Andrew Desiderio. Andrew, thank you again.